Hey, what's up, my fellow idiots? Welcome back for another episode of Idiot Proof Cooking. So today I'm going to be tackling a tamale pie, and if you're asking yourself what the hell is a tamale pie, that's a good question. The way I would describe it, or the easiest way to describe it to me, is a Tex-Mex version of a shepherd's pie. It's similar with the ground beef and all the vegetables, and you mix it all together, but instead of having mashed potatoes on top, you make cornbread on top. And it is delicious, and the best part of it, super easy to make. So let's get into making it, shall we? Alright everyone, are you ready to make a tamale pie? Because this thing is easy. So you're going to start off with a 12-inch cast iron pan, throw it on your burner, let it heat up on a medium heat for 5 to 6 minutes, throw in some olive oil, and then once the pan is sufficiently heated, you're going to throw in anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of ground beef and let it fry. Now you'll want to break up any large chunks with your spatula because you want fairly fine bits of ground beef. After a couple of minutes, I'm going to start stirring it. As you can see here, it's starting to brown up nicely, but really it's only going to take 7 to 10 minutes to cook the ground beef through, and you're looking for it to be nice and crumbly and fully browned. That's how you know it's cooked. Once the ground beef is cooked, we're going to add in a large white onion diced up into little bits. Next in is 2 diced up bell peppers. I used a yellow and an orange one, but you could use any color of bell pepper you want. And then for a little bit of heat, I've added in 3 jalapeno peppers diced up but with the seeds removed. Then it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to mix all of the vegetables in with the ground beef and let them fry and soften up for the next 5 to 6 minutes or so. You're looking for them to get nice and soft and a little bit translucent on the onions and nice and fragrant. After the vegetables have sufficiently cooked, it's time to start adding in some liquids. So I'm first going to start off with a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, make sure it gets all in the pan, and then I'm going to add in some beef stock, specifically 1 cup of beef stock, homemade or boxed stuff, either would work fine. And then you're just going to mix that all in with your vegetables and your ground beef. Once you have that thoroughly combined, it's time to add in some red kidney beans. I used about a cup of them, and you have to let them sit in water, like let them soak in your fridge overnight first, otherwise they're going to be rock hard. And then last but not least, add in a cup of frozen corn, albeit it shouldn't be frozen anymore because you should have left it to thaw out for a little bit. Mix the corn and the red pinto beans in with everything else, and then it's time to start adding in some spices, starting off with 2 tablespoons of ancho chili powder, 2 tablespoons of dried cumin, and then I'm also going to add in a teaspoon of ground coriander. Then some garlic powder, because I totally forgot to use crushed garlic, a good pinch of kosher salt, and then last but not least, as always, the freshly ground black pepper, just a couple of twists of that. Anyways, once you've added all the spices in, the next step is fairly easy. Just go get your spatula and mix all the spices in, and then we're going to let this all simmer to thicken up just for the next 25 to 30 minutes or so. That's really all it needs to simmer, and while that's simmering, let's tackle the cornbread that's going to go on top of this. Get yourself out a large mixing bowl, and we're going to add into it 1 cup of medium grind cornmeal to start. Next in is 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Into the bowl it goes, and then we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder to make it nice and fluffy. Then add in a half teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm then going to add in 1 tablespoon of white granulated sugar just to give it a little hint of sweetness, not too much sweetness. I'm then going to add in a half teaspoon of kosher salt, and then get out your trusty whisk and whisk all the dry ingredients together until they're thoroughly combined. Once that's done, it's time to start adding in some wet ingredients, starting off with 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and then we're going to add in a half cup of melted unsalted butter. Into the bowl it goes, and then last but not least, 2 large eggs that you've left to sit out at room temperature just for like 30 to 40 minutes. And then it's really easy from here. Get out your whisk again, or a spatula, or whatever you want to mix this all together, and then, obviously mix it all together until it's thoroughly combined. Make sure there's no dry ingredients left over. What you'll find is that after you mix it, it's very similar in consistency to a pancake batter, but once you have mixed it, let's head back into the kitchen because it's time to start going back to our tamale pie filling. So it's been simmering for about half an hour, so let's add in some cheese. Now some people will add cheese on top and then pour the cornbread batter on top. I am going to mix mine in though. So I've got about 2.5-3 cups of old cheddar, and I'm just going to mix it in and let it melt alongside all of the tamale filling. This is going to be so good. And then once it's all mixed in, kill the heat on your burner, and it's time to start adding the cornbread batter on top. Now what I'm going to do is use a large spoon and then just start dolloping little pieces of the cornbread batter out on top until it covers most of the pan. You know, as you can see here, it doesn't quite cover it all, but then that's when you get out another spoon and then just just start spreading it out to all sides of the pan very carefully. You don't want to over spill it over the edge of the pan. And as you can see, a little bit of the tamale filling has blended in with the cornbread. That's totally fine. It's not going to affect the cornbread whatsoever. So preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and then take your cast iron pan with everything in it, throw it in the oven, and bake it for the next 20 to 30 minutes. Set the timer on your oven until you get a nice puffy risen cornbread on top like that. Look at that gorgeous thing. You can see the tamale filling bubbling along the sides, but it's a nice puffy cornbread. So let's bring it out into the other room. Look at how beautiful that thing is. Now we gotta let it cool down. I did let it cool down for about 10-15 minutes, but after that, let's cut into it and try this. I'm cutting it with a spoon, funnily enough, and look at how thick and fluffy the cornbread is on top. Oh my god, it's still piping hot too. And let's scoop some of the tamale filling out. Look at this. This is a thing of beauty. Let's give a close-up shot of it here. Look, you can see the cornbread layer and then the tamale pie filling below. Holy, this is awesome. So let's set this aside because that's piping hot, and let's bring back our bowl here. Here's a close-up shot of the dish. The cornbread looks amazing. Now let's top it off with some sour cream. Sour cream makes everything taste better, obviously. So I'm gonna throw on a tablespoon or so, just a nice little dollop of sour cream, and then I'm also going to throw on some diced up green onions. Oh yeah, I love putting green onions on things, and so a couple of those. And then you know what, just for some added flavor, some diced up cilantro too. Green onions and cilantro both on the same dish, mixing it up a little bit, eh? There we go, a little bit of cilantro, and it's time to go in for the taste test. All right, I'm excited. This looks so amazing. It's piping hot though, but you know what, get a little bit of the cornbread, a little bit of the tamale pie filling, and oh boy, is this good. That is hearty and rich and delicious. The cornbread is nice and fluffy, and it tastes like cornbread at the end of the day. It's a delicious cornbread. It's got just that little hint of sweetness in there. It's not overpowering. It is perfect. It pairs perfectly with the tamale pie filling in it. Oh man, this is so good. And this was super easy to make. Like, it's a one-pan recipe. It was so easy to make, so you should give it a try at home if you've never made this before. It was a lot of fun. But with that in mind, let's call it an episode. I hope you like what you saw here today, and if you did, why don't you drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching 80 Proof Cooking, and we'll see you again soon.